Welcome makers. In this video I want to introduce you to the ALM Accelerator for Power Platform Maker experience. As you can see in the screen, the first time you open the application, it will ask you to choose the maker environment you want to be working on. The next time you open the application, it will actually remember the last environment you were working on and not prompt you again to choose one. Once you have chosen your environment, the first thing you're going to see on the screen is a list of all the unmanaged solutions that are present within this environment. There are quite some things that we can do with the ALM Accelerator for each of these solutions. But as you can see, some of the options appear grayed out, and that's because the first thing that we need to do is associate our solution to a solution profile. In this demo, I'm going to be utilizing the ALM Accelerator sample solution. The first thing that I want to do is hit this choose a profile link here, which will bring out side pane that will allow me to choose one of the profiles that I have access to. Within this side pane, I can see the different profiles that I have been given access to associate to the solution that I'm working on. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and choose the ALM Accelerator sample solution, and automatically the tool is going to show me which organization, project, and repository my solution will be linked into DevOps. It will also show me the different deployment environments that are configured against the profile, which I would be able to deploy my solution into. So I'm going to hit save, and I'm going to save these changes. Now, as you can see, my solution is associated to the ALM Accelerator sample solution profile. Choosing the solution profile has made these two links below the solution name active. The first one will allow you to open the solution in the maker experience in case you want to keep customizing the solution. And the second one will allow you to configure the deployment settings, which we will talk a bit more when we are actually deploying the solution. So let's first talk about the saving of the solution. When you're working on the Power Platform creating components in your solution, you normally iterate over the process of creating those components, saving them, and publish them. Now, don't get confused with the Save Solution button that you can see here. What this Save Solution button does is it basically pushes your changes into the repository that is part of the solution profile that you have assigned to the solution before. Let's now hit the Save Solution to bring out the side pane to start pushing our changes to source control. We can see here the profile that we've chosen before, and here we have a text box where we can introduce some of the notes that are going to be used in the commit. We now hit Prepare button. And what you're seeing here is basically the ALM Accelerator starting to analyze the solution, all of its dependencies and components, to allow us to configure the deployment settings for each of these. Now, when configuring deployment settings, the first thing that we need to do is choose the environment that we want to configure. Right? In this case, we have these three, which are the ones that the solution profile gives us access to. I'm going to choose validation for the demo purposes. And the first thing that we can see in the first tab is that we can configure the connection references. From here, as you can see, I don't have any, but I can actually go ahead and create a new one. So let's do that quickly. Hit create. Choose my user. And that should create for me the connection reference. If I head back to the ALM Accelerator and I hit the refresh button, I should now have access. And as you can see, I do have it here. More things that we can configure are the environment variables. We can specify the value for each of these variables that our solution has. Next thing we can do is configure the app sharing. We can choose which team we want to be sharing the different components with. In this case, we would be sharing this sample Canvas application with the ALM Accelerator sample solution team. And we can actually establish here which are the permissions that we want to provide. And lastly, the component ownership. As you can see here, we have a series of flows. We can choose which user we want to actually make the owner of those components. Once we're done, we can hit the save and close. Hit the Save Solution button. And this should now trigger the pipelines in the background for us to save that solution. As you can see, the status indicator says that something is going on in the background. At this point in time, while the save is happening, I want to take a minute to show you that by hitting this chevron icon here, you can get access to the history of requests that have happened in the solution. It's a pretty handy way of knowing who has done what within that solution and understand what's the status, whether it's been successful, whether it's still being processed or waiting, or whether there was some sort of failure for you to contact your administrator in case there has been such. Once our solution has been saved or our changes have been pushed into source control, the next thing that we can do is actually deploy the solution. So let's hit the Deploy Solution button. By hitting the deploy solution button, we get the side pane that will allow us to start the deployment. We can see the selected profile that we have for our solution, and we can enter some details like the title and the notes that will be utilized in the different actions that will be taken in DevOps to deploy our solution. We can choose the environment where we want to be pushing our solution to. Since I configured the deployment settings for validation, in this case I'm going to choose that one. Hit the deploy solution button. And as you can see by the progress indicator, the deployment of our solution into the validation environment has started. Now, depending on how your profile is configured, you might need to wait for some actions to be taken in DevOps by the administrators, as approving the pipeline execution or completing your pull request. We really hope you find the ALM Accelerator easy to use and useful. If you have any feedback, please let us know through our GitHub repository. Thanks for your time.